Hello, my name is Dana Stetson, and I'm going to talk today about disenfranchised grief in the LGBTQIA plus community. So what does LGBTQIA plus stand for? It stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender or transitioning, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual, and the plus stands for many additional terms including non-binary, pansexual, omnisexual, two-spirit, and others. So another name for it is jokingly referred to as alphabet soup because of all the different letters. For the sake of this presentation, I will be using the term LGBTQ+. This presentation will cover some of the assumptions made that dictate why losses within the LGBTQ plus community are disenfranchised, provide several examples on how these losses are disenfranchised, and discuss the social, cultural, and systematic issues that cause individuals within this community to experience a lack of recognition or social support. Finally, I will discuss the ways in which these losses could be better acknowledged by society as a whole. So why are these losses considered less grievable by society? There are two main reasons. The first is the adoption of the heterosexual conjugal and kinship nuclear family as the norm. So what does this mean? It means that laws and society as a whole generally recognize that one husband, one wife, and their 2.5 kids are the norm. So Curtin and Garrison suggest that disenfranchised grief is not part of being gay or lesbian. It's part of being an LGBT plus person in a heteronormative culture. So, generally speaking, in support groups and other options, legally speaking, the society tends to focus on the one husband, one wife model of the heterosexual conjugal and kinship nuclear family. The second main reason is the intersection of social categories of sexual identity, age, socioeconomic status, race, and ethnicity may factor into the grief process. Somebody who is a white heterosexual passing male may have less of a harder time than an individual that is person of color who is not openly homosexual and also socioeconomically not as well off. Now that we've identified the two key factors on why these losses are considered less grievable by society, we have to ask the question, what are the key social, cultural, and systematic factors that lead to the disenfranchisement of grief within the LGBT plus community? These are minimization, exclusion, whether it be intentional or unintentional, self-disenfranchisement, and legal, financial, and work-related issues. The first of these factors is minimization. Minimization happens when a relationship is minimized. So instead of saying that this is your fiance, husband, or boyfriend, the person refers to them as partner, roommate, or friend. The second of these is the relationship is not recognized. It is considered less than a heterosexual relationship. Oh, those people over there, they don't need as much compassion because it is not as equal to a heterosexual relationship. That generally happens when there's homophobia involved. Individuals also may not validate the loss for the griever. For instance, if they believe that the couple is roommates, they may not understand the depth of the loss involved in losing a significant other. Finally, the griever is not recognized as the primary bereaved individual and is demoted to less than those by blood ties. In a couple of the examples of the readings we've done, there have been individuals who have been identified as, oh, that person is just the friend of that individual and isn't granted the right as primary mourner as, their loved one, their husband, their wife, their girlfriend, boyfriend, and the family decides that, oh, this is my son, this is my daughter, this is my sister, and claim the right of blood ties over those of the significant other. In addition to minimization, exclusion, whether intentionally or unintentionally, can also occur. The first example of this is unrecognition of the mourner or their relationship, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally. For example, funerals can be constructions of preferred identity of the deceased. An example of a gender fluid individual, rather than referring to they, them, or whatever their preferred identity to be, the family may refer to the individual as he, him, or she, her. This works in hand with minimization, because if the individual is, for instance, their a lesbian daughter, the family may choose to focus on the daughter aspect of it and not their sexual identity, and this causes issues for the lesbian's partner or partners, as the case may be. Additionally, cultural identity may have very rigid gender roles, and any deviations from these roles are shunned. In one example that we discussed, they were talking about Puerto Rico, and those individuals, the men in that culture, have to put on, or well, not have to, but they choose to adopt an identity of a very masculine stance to distance themselves from any sort of flamboyancy. Homophobia can also cause individuals to see the bereaved as less than a heterosexual mourner. Examples of homophobia may exclude individuals from joining in any sort of wake or religious activities. Additionally, support groups may not speak in terms that recognize the loss of someone within the LGBTQ+ community. This may be referring to son or daughter, but they may not refer to or recognize a relationship between two women, two men, and that's problematic. Next issue that these individuals run into is self-disenfranchisement. Individuals may feel shame because of the culture that they were raised in. Many Catholics don't recognize the LGBTQ plus community, although this is changing, and especially in parts of the United States, they may be shunned for their gender, sexual identity, or if they were raised in a household with very strong gender or heterosexual norms. Additionally, these individuals may feel isolation or alienation. Some parts of the United States lack social support. They're not very big LGBTQ plus communities. An individual may have not chosen not to disclose their identity of their sexual orientation or their status of their relationship with the deceased. We saw several of issues like that during the Pulse shootings down in Orlando not that many years ago, where individuals' identities were revealed and caused many issues. Feeling isolation due to homophobia. That's a big one down, especially here in the South, where individuals may not feel comfortable allowing others to know that this is my loved one who has passed away. Minimization of the relationship. For instance, being referred to as friend or partner may cause them to feel isolated from the community as a whole, because they're not being identified as this is my loved one. Lack of bereavement support. There may be areas where the bereavement support isn't focused towards the LGBTQ plus community and is rather focusing on heterosexual norms. Additionally, exclusion from worship and religious practices due to their identity. You're not allowed here because you believe something different than me. And all of these unfortunately lead to this feeling of being alone. Finally, we come to legal, financial, and work-related issues. These issues may include the relationship not legally being recognized. For instance, in terms of long-term cohabitation, where individuals have chosen not to get married for some reason, whether it be loss of disability insurance, financial, etc. Also, there are certain countries within the world that still don't recognize LGBTQ plus relationships as being legally allowed to marry. The family may not recognize the bereaved status as primary mourner during and or after the death of a spouse, and legally speaking, if that person were to leave their loved one money in a will, sometimes they may not be able to receive it. That may be contested depending on the legality of it. Finally, many laws within the United States are deeply rooted in heteronormative attitudes and practices. So the wording of a specific law may protect one male and one woman living together, but it might not protect two women living together, two men living together, or any sort of gender fluid identities. So what steps can we take to legitimize grief within the LGBTQ plus community? The first is to bring awareness of this issue to the public eye. Without awareness, no one can make these changes. Individuals can vote in their local community to bring in individuals that they support and they recognize, who are aware of the heteronormative bias written into law and are willing to help fight to make these changes and make the laws more inclusive to everyone. Next, we can normalize LGBTQ plus individuals and recognizing their their relationships by their proper names. For instance, if your friend introduces you to her wife, call her by her wife, not roommate or friend. These individuals who identify with the community can reach out in person or via the internet and attempt to build a support group within the larger community to legitimize their loss and provide comfort. Especially in small towns where there aren't a lot of folks that are out as LGBTQ+, the internet can be a great resource along with various apps and communities. I know that there's a very large Instagram community for LGBTQT plus individuals. When appropriate and possible, individuals in committed relationships within the community can take steps to have their relationship legally recognized through marriage or identifying the partner as an inheritor in their will. And I know that this can't be possible for all instances. Certain individuals will have disability funds erased if they're married, but if it's two people who have lived together in cohabitation for a long period of time and they don't have any other issues, by legally marrying that individual, the family and support group will more likely recognize that individual as primary mourner when unfortunately instances happen. Individuals can create new traditions such as wake with friends and support of loved ones, or write separate notices of death identifying the relationship. So whatever's published in the paper or on Facebook, instead of it being son or daughter, it can be, this is my girlfriend, this is my boyfriend, this person that has passed is important to me. And that's how individuals can help to handle the grieving process. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts and questions on this subject down in the comments below. I hope you have a great day.